Master 1, 2, 1. Ship ready. Solution ready. Weapons ready. And sonar bearings. Shoot.
We did submit the game idea to the Navy. Early in the game development, I sent the script, some screenshots, and the what we call the ship's information books, which is part of the online help, to the undersea warfare code in the Pentagon, and had them review it because I was concerned that it might be too realistic. In fact, there were a couple of the operating procedures that they wanted us to make less detailed, so that instead of saying exactly how submarines do things, the operating procedures are tailored to how you need to do things in the game using the screens. We've had some very positive reaction from the submarine officers that have seen the game. The game was taken to a trade show recently, and the subject of the trade show was training. And the senior submariners that looked at the game thought that it did have potential, even as it is. Well, my own experience was first in writing the script and creating the scenarios, although there were several of us that worked together, but that was a major contribution. I've also helped in the screen designs, and not just in designing the screens, but also to make the screens simple enough for the player to be able to operate without having the crew of 150 behind the player, and but yet to maintain the realistic look. It's been a challenge to make the player interface realistic, but yet achievable without help. Part of the fun of working on the game has been working with the young programmers who, of course, don't have first-hand knowledge of how things are done on the submarines, and so they'll say, well, how would you do this, or how would you say this, and if you ordered that, what would they answer back? And so it's been partially in doing some of those small touches that will add to the realism of the game. I think the main difference between playing the game and being on a submarine is the time factor. We had to do things, we had to take some license to be able to make the scenarios playable in a reasonable length of time. Other than time compression, there really is little difference between playing the game and doing the real job. Tension and drama are created in the game both through the music, the background music that plays for the player, but also the sense that there is impending doom, that you know that if you go very long without having made contact with another ship, that you're probably going to be in trouble. And there's a real pucker factor when you hear the first torpedo going active and coming in on you.
Sonalysts does a variety of engineering and consulting work, which includes software design and development, combat system simulation analysis, acoustic analysis, communications and electronic warfare work for the Naval Undersea Warfare Center and various other laboratories. We also have substantial lines of business in wargaming and with the Department of Energy and with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Because many of our people came from submarines and had nuclear power backgrounds, they knew a considerable amount about the problems that the Department of Energy and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission has. We've done a series of one-on-one engagements, battle force engagements, and campaign models for that matter. And at the Naval War College, actually participated in seminar war games and full-scale war games in a wargaming environment. So we've had considerable experience in the whole range of simulation possibilities. We at Sonalysts think that this game, 688I Hunter Killer, will be considerably better than what anybody we know could have done, because of the experience we have as submariners operating the ships, the experience we have with animation and music and video, and most importantly perhaps the combat system simulation analysis that we've done for futuristic scenarios as a defense contractor.
The sound for Hunter Killer was exciting to put together for us because we were able to, through EA, what they really wanted was the most realistic sound that we could put together, and having the access to the actual 688 submarines that we have, I was able to go out on the sub for a few days and actually record sound on board. Adding suspense and drama to the game is very much a challenge for us because obviously we weren't ever on the boat during a life-threatening situation. And the second part of that challenge is we were trying to make it as realistic as possible. Well, I hope the gamers will get a better idea of what it's really like to be on a submarine when playing this game. Most of the games that we've seen, the sound was definitely fairy tale sound, and the sounds that we have in this game are the real sounds.
A couple of the things that we tried to put into our game to make it distinct and stand out from the other games in the market is, one is realism. Two is really the 3D entity view, which is where you can follow any object in the game, whether it be torpedo, submarine, ship, SEAL team. You can follow them and pan all around them and see them from all different sides. Well, the real-time game animations, one of the exciting things about them is that for every game, for every player, it's going to be completely different. It's artificial intelligence controlled, so as you move your sub one way, the AI is going to move the enemy sub, it's a different way every single time. So the animations are not canned, they're all fresh, live, happening at the same time. Well, the process that we use to create the 3D objects is we would normally start with the information from Jane's manuals, and we would scan those into the computer. From that, we would build wireframes, three-dimensional wireframes, which are basically a skeleton that we could then wrap a skin around. The skin would then be given a texture or a color. For instance, the deck of a ship would be given, we'd paint the texture that looks like the deck of a ship.
Yeah, this game is a good example of what you might want to do if you were going to be training to go into the Navy. After playing this game, a player could actually probably qualify to run a number of the stations on a real submarine. It's that accurate. We have, if you blow up an object, you'll see the explosion, then you'll see the smoke from a surface ship. So as the surface ship sinks to the bottom, we've pretty accurately modeled what it might look like for a hull to actually fall underwater and land on the mud, and then it falls to one side and lists. So, and you can watch all that in 3D. You can see it's like watching a little movie. Everything happens just like when you're playing the game, and it's accurately modeled. Okay, what's really cool in the 3D is, for example, when you're attached to an object, like let's say you pick own ship, we have a list of every platform that's currently being simulated in the game, and we have 4 different camera views that you can use to attach yourself to objects. So for example, we're about to fire a weapon, we attach ourselves to the 688, and the weapon gets launched, and we can actually see the weapon come out of the sub, and it leaves a trail of bubbles behind it as it goes out, and then you can jump right on board that weapon and ride it right into the the ship that you're about to hit. And it looks really kind of dramatic. You see the weapon with the bubbles streaming behind it, and goes up and it hits its target, and you get a big flash and big explosion, and then the smoke from if you hit a surface ship, it'll start smoking, and then the ship will list to one side and sink underwater and slowly drop to the bottom and rest itself on the mud at the bottom of the ocean. And you get to watch all that just like watching, just like you were there. What your goal is to do is remain silent. So you do not want to be detected by anyone else. And at the same time, you want to be able to detect other people. So it's to your advantage not to surface very often. It's to your advantage to use your passive sensors only. Don't send out any active pings, because if you send out a ping, everyone else is going to hear you and they're going to close in on you. So it can get fairly tense, because when you know someone's out there, you're trying your best to tippy-toe around them in order to get your shot off and leave the area before he hears you and starts taking a shot at you. If you come up to the surface and there happens to be a helicopter in the area, he's going to start dropping little sonobuoys around you, and they're going to pick you up and they're going to nail you. And so you have to be very careful. It is very realistic.
These are examples of some of the 3D objects that we've built for the game. There's a couple of subs, a helicopter, F-15, and a sailboat. These were all built in 3D studios by our animators, and then were given textures either in 3D Studio or an alias. And this just gives us a chance to scroll all around them and get a good look at them and make sure that everything lines up and that proportionally they're the right size. Well, in this example, this is a model of the Tomahawk missile bursting through the surface of the water and then flying off into the distance. And the green sparks that you're seeing are actually particles that in the end animation will simulate a smoke trail. So I would start off with this model, with this wireframe, the skeleton, and then I would go in and start to assign surfaces. So this is the final rendered version. You can see how realistic the smoke looks and the surface of the water and it breaking through the surface of the water and the clouds.
Come on ahead, 2/3.
So you have a series of commands there, which we would recreate with the appropriate background sound as well.
Mission Navigator, 1,000 yards a day.
And what happens is you'll have a lookout on the sail who will be giving coordinates to the navigator below as far as all the turns and things like that. So we get a lot of interesting commands and the natural
Mission Navigator,
sounds.
1,000 yards the next turn. Based on a good visual, fix hold the ship 200 yards, right at track. Revised turn bearing on Montauk Light is 224.5.
The very difficult thing is to get some of these sounds in the clear. So you have to go to like some confined space somewhere where there's not a computer or an instrument making a lot of racket to get them. Yeah, this is a good example of that. This was in the control room, and the ship's getting ready to dive, and just to get the sound of the diving horn.
Dive. Dive.
As you can tell, there's a lot of sound around that. So one of our challenges is to go in, find the best place in the boat to get that sound.
San Juan arriving.
Administration sources in Washington disclosed today that there is new evidence of a serious setback in the war on drugs. Senior administration officials revealed that the drug cartel, led by Colombian strongman Dom Hasquez, has expanded its operations north into Cuba. Vasquez visited Havana a year ago, but his current whereabouts are unknown. Cuba, starved for hard currency, is said to be using drug profits for a badly needed modernization of its armed forces. After meeting with military leaders from Central and South American countries, Secretary of the Navy Emery stated that he was very concerned over the increased level of operations by all of Cuba's armed forces, including the operation off Florida's east coast of 2 Cuban submarines that recently completed extensive overhauls.
We're ready to begin your weapons loadout as soon as you specify what you want to carry. I suggest you go over to headquarters and check on your tasking right away. Your provisions are waiting on the pier as soon as you have a work party to load them.
Come left to course 0, 0, 0. Aye, sir. Steady on course 0, 0, 0. Con, sonar. Loud explosion on the bearing of Sierra 2. Come right to course 0, 6, 0. Aye, sir. Steady on course 0, 6, 0.
Maneuvering, con, make turns for 13 knots. Maneuvering, con, make turns for 4 knots.
Con, sonar. I have a new contact, bearing 263, designated Sierra 7. Con, sonar. I have a new contact, bearing 262, designated Sierra 8.
Lower the antenna. Aye, sir.
Try as I might, I can't get you relieved of command. You must have some piece of information that Count Blant is afraid you'll use to blackmail him.